Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. Today's video is in partnership with Skillshare, and I am going to be going over my end of the year curriculum reviews for all 4 of my kids in one video. This video might get a tiny bit long, but it's way too redundant to do so many different end of the year curriculum reviews. So I'm gonna put all 4 of my kids in this one video, letting you know which curriculum we enjoyed and which ones we didn't, and a very short explanation of why if we did not enjoy something. So before I jump into the curriculum, let me tell you guys one thing that we really loved in our homeschool this year was using Skillshare for art in our homeschool. Skillshare is an online teaching platform that has classes for anyone, from your children to you to your teenagers, from any topic, any variety, anything you want to learn more about. But we really loved using Skillshare for art in our homeschool. My youngest daughter really enjoys Wynn's art classes. She most recently took one that was painting a watercolor peacock, and she absolutely loved it. I love Wynn's classes on Skillshare for art because they're about 20 to 30 minutes in length. The explanation and instructions are very clear and simple to understand, and it is something that my daughter can do on her own. If I just sign us into Skillshare, pull up the class, she is able to follow along, pausing if she needs to, and create a beautiful piece of art in our homeschool. So if you guys would like to check out Skillshare, I have a link where the first 1,000 people to use my link or the code that will be down below will get 1 month free of Skillshare. So that will be down below, and I'll put the code right here. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. We have absolutely loved using Skillshare in our homeschool for art, so I guess you could count that as an elective. But let's jump in to the rest of the end of the year curriculum reviews. So I'm sure you guys are aware, but if you are new to my channel, I have 4 kids that I've been homeschooling for almost a decade, and my oldest was in the 9th grade, then I had 8th grade, then I had 6th grade, and then I had 4th grade. So I am going to run you guys down everything pretty much curriculum-wise that we used in our homeschool, give you my feedback and thoughts. So before we move on into their individual grade level stuff, we do a lot in our homeschool together as a family. So these are family style subjects. I wanted to start with Bible because I'm kind of just gonna go with what I start my homeschool with, and then like how we start our day, and then work my way down. So for Bible, I pulled together a variety of resources. I have these Bible verse memory cards that I got from Home and Haven Community. This, by the way, are all the verses that my kids memorized this year. So that is a huge accomplishment for us. And then also I utilize September & Co.'s character training cards. I don't know if you can get them in a physical copy anymore or just a PDF, and then you print them off and make them yourselves. So we use both of these things. We focused heavily on scripture memorization this year, and those flashcards just made a very easy way for us to do that. Absolutely loved starting with this. Throughout the year, I read various biblical truth books besides actually just being in the actual Holy Bible. I read the Ology to my kids. We loved that. We loved the discussion it brought about. We read the poetic retelling of the Pilgrim's Progress. Loved it. Love this, highly recommend. I did a variety of kind of like biblical evidence, biblical fact books. This was the one that we just finished with, Answers book for teens. Got this from Master Books, highly recommend. And then of course we had our missionary stories that we were reading, that I have one right over here, Christian Heroes Then and Now. So we absolutely love and adore these. And then of course, World Watch News, reading scripture and discussing in various capacities throughout the year. All of that makes up Bible time, and I love everything that we pulled. There's nothing that I would change. There's really nothing that I would add. I felt like we knocked it out of the park with our Bible time as a family throughout the whole homeschool year. And the way that I pulled resources together is what feels right to me as a homeschooling mom. I am not someone who wants to use a Bible curriculum. I've tried it once or twice in the past, and it feels very forced, and I don't enjoy that. I feel like Bible curriculum sometimes can stifle out the Holy Spirit and what the Lord wants you to speak to your kids, because you're so focused on making sure that you're reading this and doing that and doing this. And so this was all super organic discussion and just really, really good. So our Bible time, I give it an epic thumbs up. If you are worried about doing Bible without following a guide or something like that, just try getting a few biblical books, getting some verses you want your kids to memorize, and then discussing. Like, there's so much to be learned in discussion. Another thing that we do all together as a family is history. So here is history year 4 from The Good and the Beautiful. I'm trying to get to the front of the cover. So, because I asked on Instagram, how important is it for me to hold things up? And you guys told me it's important. So this is history year 4 from The Good and the Beautiful. They're revising their history, so you are not going to be able to get this exact history course anymore, or if for very long. However, we really loved what we did of it. For the first time ever in my homeschool, I did not finish a curriculum, because we also did together as a family the U.S. Constitution course from The Good and the Beautiful. This we finished. This I paused mid-year to do this. I had underestimated the amount of time that I was going to spend doing this, and I did not want to rush through it. This is all so important and something I'm very passionate about. So I didn't want to rush through the lessons. And so I had a plan to complete this in about 9 weeks. That didn't happen because we were taking our time with it, and I know better than to rush through something so good for the sake of finishing something else. So we never did finish all 4 units of this history course, but the sections that we did do, we loved, and we've used their history from year 1 to year 4. So I highly recommend both, although this you probably cannot get anymore. If you did not do this course, it will change your life. You will learn so much. I'm telling you guys, I knew about 10% of what is in this course. Fantastic. And even though it says grades 4 through 8 on here, that is no. 99% of adults don't even know this stuff. So it should definitely, I feel like The Good and the Beautiful should have changed it to grade 12, but I see why they didn't, because there's just a lot when you are making high school curriculum. However, the content was plenty for my high schoolers. So I highly recommend both of those. Their history we've loved, but this was the last year and they're revising it, and they're not going to have it ready for next year. So we had to make some different choices for history, which is fine. So look out for those videos if you want to see what I'm using. But this course is one thing that I will remember in my homeschool for forever. And I'm telling you guys that almost 10 years into this, it is a game changer. So definitely highly recommend. Another thing we do as a family with most of my children, 3 out of the 4, is science from The Good and the Beautiful. So the only thing that I have to show you is our 4th unit, which is birds. This year I wrote it down because I knew I would forget. We did geology, we did reptiles, and we did birds. So those were our 3 units that we did from The Good and the Beautiful, and I did them with 3 out of my 4 kids. We absolutely loved it. Normally I do 4 units, but this year I didn't do 4 units because during the holidays we took a very a very good break to do the seasonal bundle activities that I share with you guys, mostly on Instagram, but I do share them here. So we did like science with cookies and just more seasonal stuff, which was an absolute blast. So we only did three units from the Good and the Beautiful. So geology, reptiles, and birds. And I asked my kids to rank them. So my kids' favorites, out of those three, they first said reptiles, then they said birds, and then they said geology. And I think that's just because animals and active living things are my kids' it's just their absolute favorites. All the units were really great, but those were my kids' favorites, just to help you if you are thinking about or deciding, what you want to do next. So that is like everything that we do, all of us together, all four of us. Then my kids obviously have their grade level specific work for what they need to accomplish. So I'm going to start with my 10th grader. I'm going to give you guys the rundown of everything of each of my kids. All right, starting with Shoreman Mathematics. We tried Shoreman this year. It is an online program, so I don't have anything physical to show you guys. We tried Shoreman this year, and I did a whole video last year on math and changing math, so I won't go into that, but this was our first year using it, and I have to tell you guys, it was an answer to prayer. Shoreman Mathematics for high school is exactly what we needed. It is exactly what I was looking for, and I am so thankful for Dr. Shoreman and also the very, very few of you who have kids a little bit older than me who mentioned to me that I should check it out when I was saying that I was dissatisfied with what we were using previously, and just seeing a lot of struggle that I knew it just wasn't adding up. So we used Shoreman for Algebra 1, and my daughter actually did Algebra 1 last year through a different curriculum company that I had her do it again. Number one, she was in 8th grade last year, so I knew it wasn't going to affect her long term if she retook it. Also, I knew that there was major gaps in the curriculum that we were using before, and I didn't want her to carry on without making sure that she had all of the algebra foundation that she needed. So she retook Algebra 1 this year, and I am so thankful that she did. There was a lot that she needed to have reinforced. And Algebra 1 on Shoreman is also combined with geometry, so there's never a full year of geometry. It's Algebra 1 with geometry, and then the next year is Algebra 2 with basically the other half of geometry. So we loved that course. My son in the 8th grade took it, even though he did Algebra 1 last year as well in the 7th grade through a different company, and then she took it, and I cannot rave or sing its praises enough. It is a tremendously solid, biblically sound math curriculum for high schoolers, and it is online, it auto grades, it's like everything that we ever wanted. So I'm very, very thankful. My daughter really loved the fact that there were 4 lessons and a quiz every single week, so it was something that was very manageable, and she really looked forward to the quiz days because she wasn't going to have to sit through a whole lecture, and it helped her feel like Fridays were a little bit shorter, and so she really enjoyed that. So we managed that math curriculum like a pro, like it was perfect. Obviously be using it again next year. So now, next for her is basically like her English component. I wanted to show you guys. So for her, she was doing the Good and the Beautiful. The Good and the Beautiful High School 1. There's 10 units like this. This is only about, let's see how many units I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4 of the 10. And people always ask me about writing. I mean, this is only 4 of the 10 units. She's writing plenty. Very, very happy with the language arts from the Good and the Beautiful for High School 1. She did do Wordly Wise Book 9. Of course, I've been using that in my homeschool basically since I started. And reading the books assigned with the Good and the Beautiful were her readers. So we loved it. It was great. It took us a little bit of navigation to figure out like how I should grade it, when I should grade it, when should she turn it in, should it be every week, should it be once the unit's done. So if you are using it for high school homeschool, it is a bit of a transition to go from like the daily lessons to a whole change up, but the curriculum, we love it. And people always ask me about the writing, and I'm like, am I missing something? They write every unit, they have a different writing assignment. I mean, she's not writing 100-page papers, but I don't really want her to be. They're giving her like a word count, a 300 word count, 350 word count. And so every unit she's writing on something else. And so I feel that it's great. So we loved it. For her electives this year, she did basically 4 different electives. She did hand lettering with a book that I purchased for her, as well as some classes on Skillshare. It's linked on my Amazon. She couldn't find it because she took it into her room, which, you know, if your teen takes something into their room, you might not find it again. But it went from something that I thought she was going to be doing during the school day to something she was just doing all of the time. Loved it. She took Spanish 2 through BJU, distance learning for an elective. Love it. Wonderful foreign language program, continuing with it. I had her do a different health program last year in 8th grade, and I stopped her because it was just not what I was looking for. The program last year was more of like an entire year science study, and I wanted a traditional health course. So I had her do these PACEs, the health PACEs, and this was exactly what we wanted, and it was perfect, and she enjoyed it. Another elective that we did was the Introduction to Logic course from Master Books. This course will go down just like the government and constitution course from The Good and the Beautiful as something that I feel was life-changing in my children's education as well as mine. This book is recommended for 8th to 10th grade. It's a philosophy, you know, it's a logic course, so it's an elective credit. This will challenge your children and you in all of the best ways and really, really help your kids see just everything that's going on. They bring it back to this. It's just so obvious once you're taught how to think logically and where does that even come from. This course is transformational. We did not use the videos that are optional to purchase and watch a video. I had them read, we discussed, we did the worksheets, we checked their answers, and that's kind of the way that we did it. I highly, highly, highly recommend that course. And then for science, she did physical science this year from BJU. Distance learning. This was an online course that she did. She loved this course, but this course was a challenging science course. Their courses are very much reminiscent of college level courses, and so they're very what's the word that I'm looking for? They're not advanced. I guess it kind of would be. That the information that they get in here is just, it's a lot. There's a lot to their sciences, but I want that for her. She wants it. She enjoys it. So she was up for the challenge, but this is not a course for a child that struggles with science or has no interest in science, because it is a difficult but a difficult in a good way type of science course. So I think that's everything for my 9th grader. So now let's move on to my 8th grader. He did a lot of the same things that my daughter did last year, so it's a little bit repetitive here. However, he did Shoreman math. I can't sing its praises enough. I already told you guys that. For his language arts portion this year, he did the book studies from The Good and the Beautiful, and I have a few here because my friends on Instagram told me it's very important that I hold things up. So here's what this kind of looks like. So he did this was one of the ones that he did, Wild Like the Foxes. So he read the book and then did this every day, and then he also did Wordly Wise, and he also had a gratitude journal to kind of make up for his language and reading portion of his homeschool. The Good and the Beautiful Language Arts does not have a level 8. So I made the mistake last year with my daughter, because she's my guinea pig, of trying to use a different curriculum's language arts program after using the Good and the Beautiful for like 6 years. And once you use the Good and the Beautiful for language arts, in my opinion, there's just nothing else that compares, and my children feel the same. So I learned with my daughter that that was not going to work. So I just had him do these. He did 3 of them. He did this one, he did the Abraham Lincoln one, and he did the Helen Keller and a Touch of Magic one. And for him, he's very strong in his writing, reading, grammar, spelling. He does not struggle at all there. So I did feel for him that this was enough. For a child that struggles with those concepts, I'm not sure that this would be enough. I think that these are wonderful, and it would be great for a kid who struggles in addition to something else, but I don't know that I would just use this alone if my child was struggling. However, for him, it worked out really well. For his elective course, he did logic with us, this course right here, which I already told you guys how I feel about it. Amazing. He excels in this type of thinking, and he loved it. He's a very analytical thinker, and it was great. He loved it so much. Then for his science course, he did Earth Science from BJU. This is what I used for my daughter last year in 8th grade. He also did the Good and the Beautiful science with us, so he was doing 2 sciences someday. He was very happy to do that. This course right here is a very good foundational course for high school science. Not that the Good and the Beautiful isn't, but it's just doing unit studies, there might be, some missing pieces, so to speak. If you're going from reptiles to space and geology, there's nothing wrong with that. In the younger years, you're exposing them to a lot of different concepts. However, before moving into high school science, I do feel it's important to have a solid basis of earth science, so that way the next thing makes sense. I hope that you guys understand. So he did this, and it's amazing. It's our 2nd year using it. We love it. BJU. You guys will see this video is probably pretty boring to watch, because there's not a lot that I have to tell you that I don't like. And the reason why is because I'm not a mom who changes curriculum all the time. I only change something if there is a very big need for it. So once I find something, for example, this Earth Science course that I think is fantastic, then I pretty much plan on using it for all 4 of my kids in the 8th grade. My daughter did it in 8th, my son did it in 8th, my next son will do it in 8th, and that's just the way that I do things. Shorman Math, that'll be what they do until they graduate. The Good and the Beautiful language arts, till the end. So, that's why I'm like, do they really even want to hear my end of the year curriculum reviews? But you guys said yes. So anyway, that's about everything for him. Science, math, electives, language arts, and then the history and Bible we do together. So my next child was my son, who was in the 6th grade this year. For his language arts, I have his whole school bin here. He did handwriting from the Good and the Beautiful. He did Wordly Wise book 6. He did language arts level 7 from the Good and the Beautiful. This is what the outside of it looks like, for those of you who like a visual, or at least that's what it looks like until they revise it. And this is the reader that goes with his language arts. So that is what he used for his reading in the 6th grade portion. I love Wordly Wise. I love the Good and the Beautiful's handwriting, and I love the Good and the Beautiful language arts. For math, we had a bit of a struggle this year, because initially I planned on him using another curriculum for math that I've used with my other kids previously. However, once I saw that once they got basically to pre-algebra, it was just a big mess. I couldn't stomach having him go into that. So I really struggled with finding something for math for him, because he is basically ready for pre-algebra, but I didn't want to put him in pre-algebra completely yet because I wasn't fully certain that he didn't have some missing components from using the other curriculum for the past few years. So what I settled on using for him was Principles of Mathematics from Master Books. This is the teacher's guide, and then this was his textbook right here. So here's what I can tell you about that. This math program is mostly parent taught. So they have videos, but the videos are not like instructional lessons, or at least my son didn't perceive them that way. So this is a lot of parent teaching. I will tell you that I do feel like he got some really good practice, and maybe some things that were missing from the other curriculum were in. So I feel he's very prepared to go on to pre-algebra now. So the curriculum did its job in that regard, but it wasn't like a fun or exciting math program. And some days it was slightly frustrating just because of the lack of instruction. The book doesn't contain how to do something. It's just, this is the answer. And so he did it. He was successful. We were successful, but I don't know if I did it again, if I would use it, but it's hard for me to say that because it was pretty solid. In the past, I had tried using Horizons level 6 like long ago, and it was not working well. This kind of reminded me of that, but only a little bit better. So that's why I didn't just go to Horizon 6, because I had tried that, and then we decided together, like, this is not the way for math for middle school, which is what led us to the curriculum that we left. And so then this one, I didn't want to do Horizon, so this is, I wanted to get something to really set him up for pre-algebra. So I feel like it did its job, but it wasn't our absolute favorite. So that's everything for him. Now for my daughter, who was in the 4th grade, she did Math 4 from The Good and the Beautiful. Oh my dear, we love this math curriculum so much. The video lessons, the colorful pages, all the revisions that they did from the previous math to this new Simply Good and Beautiful math, fantastic, 10 out of 10. We loved it. It was perfect. In the beginning, it was a little bit of review, but then there was she learned so much. So we love this math curriculum. She used the Language Arts Level 4. This is the spelling workshop book. But I loved how they had that spelling workshop in with the language arts. So we really loved the Good and the Beautiful Level 4. She did handwriting from The Good and the Beautiful right here. Loved it. Cursive practice is always great. So even once my kids can write in cursive, I have them keep practicing. This is level 5. And she also had a gratitude journal that I got off of Amazon that we loved. And she did Wordly Wise for the very first time this year. She did book 3, I believe, because she had never done it before, so I didn't want to use book 4. I get asked that a lot, like, when do you start using Wordly Wise? Well, this was her first year using it, and she is in the 4th grade, and it was great for her to have this additional little bit of practice, and we really, really liked it. She also did Typing 2 with The Good and the Beautiful, which is at the very bottom of her little bin. I haven't cleaned out our schoolroom yet, but she did Typing 2, and we love their typing programs. Very independent, just takes a few minutes of a lesson. It's not going to eat up your whole day, and it was fantastic. So that is everything that I used in my homeschool pretty much. I have all of our seasonal bundle worksheets that we did here. I mean, we use these things. And we did a prairie co-op, and we did a lot. But as far as curriculum goes, That's the run of the mill, you guys. I hope you enjoyed listening. There probably wasn't a lot negative that I could tell you, but I hope maybe you gathered some good ideas to put on your list for the future, or if you're looking for something. Let me know if you have any questions about anything that I said down below. I know I ran through that really fast, but that's because I wanted to get 4 kids in one video. Make sure you guys check out Skillshare. That link will be down below for you, and I will see you all again in my next video really soon. Bye, friends.